Hey everyone, welcome to our Blender Beginner series. So this whole series is broken up into 6 different chapters. So in chapter 1, we'll look at how to do all the modeling, so taking basic primitive shapes inside Blender and creating more complex 3D assets. And then chapter 2, we'll have a look at how to UV unwrap all of our models so that we can take it into texturing, which we'll cover in chapter 3. Then chapter 4, we'll look at our lighting and our cameras before we start looking at some surface imperfections. And then finally, we'll do rendering and compositing. So there are some resources that you need to download to be able to follow along. So if you click the link in the description of the video, you will find all the reference images we use to actually model everything. There's also a file of all the custom decals I've created that you can use inside the scene, and there's also an ebook that talks through the whole process as well, so you can either follow along to the videos or you can follow along to the ebook as well. It covers the same things. If you've got any questions about anything as you're going through it, leave a comment in the video that you're struggling with, and I'll get back to you. Hi, welcome back to our Blender beginner course. So our scene is starting to come together quite nicely. There's a few other little bits that we're going to start to model. So we're going to start by doing a little like a jar for excuse me, other pens and like craft knives and that sort of things to go onto. So as ever, we're going to go to our front view by pressing that key above that tab. I will one day figure out what that key is called. Shift A to add image and reference image, and then I've got my jam jar there. I'm going to to scale that down, come to the properties panel, data, just make that a little bit more, white, turn the opacity down, G and Y to move it back. So dimensions wise, Shift A, grab a cube, it should be about 13 centimeters tall. So Z, and what we're going to do is 130 millimeters, like that. So N to close that panel, Shift Z to go to X-ray mode. I'm going to grab that reference image and just scale it down till it gets to roughly sort of size that we want. So we know that's now the right size. I'm going to delete that cube that I used just for scaling. Come to the front. So it's quite an easy shape because we're going to do a cylinder, but to do this thread, what we're actually going to do is go to Edit, Preferences, and actually on Extensions, there's Extra Curve Objects. So just search for Extra Curve Objects and activate it, much like loop tools. They are built into Blender. They're just not on by default. And to find it, when you Shift A, it's curve, and you have these extra curves down here because we're going to do spirals and do it in Archimedes, and that's how I'll do threads. Okay, those aren't activated by default, so just make sure you go to Edit Preferences and do it that way. So let's go to Shift A, Mesh, grab a cylinder. As ever, let's scale that down to size. Something like that. Tab to go to Edit Mode. Make sure we are in X-ray mode so we can grab the back of it as well. GZ. We're going to round that off now because we played with the scale. Remember, we need to apply our scale. I'm going to grab that edge. We're going to Control B to bevel. Maybe we do a bit more. Something like that. 3 to grab that face. To delete it, we're going to hold down 2 and Alt to select that edge, and remember it's face and grid fill, or right click and add 2 quick favorites, which we've already done. So we've got that there. Come back to the front. We're going to press E to come up, scale it in a little bit, then E to come up, like that. We're going to grab these edges and bevel them. Something a bit smaller, like that. And then what we're going to do is let's try X to delete the faces. So that is now hollow. Now we're going to do this just so I can show you another modifier. So come to the modifiers, add modifier, and you've got solidify. So that will then make it not hollow, but it starts quite big. So we're going to go quite small, go to like 3, maybe even less than that, 2, something like that. Once we're done, we're going to apply, because then we do need to round off these edges as well. So Control B, something like that. So that's another way to sort of hollow out objects. Let's just check how it's looking when we do a subdivision on there. It's looking very jam jar like. We are going to shade flat. So we want to have a thread. So what we're going to do first of all, is remember when we add things, it's based around where that 3D cursor is. So what I'm actually going to do is just go to 3 to face mode, hold on Alt and just select that edge along there, Shift Z, cursor to selected. So that's where it's then going to appear. And this is where we need the extra curves. I'm going to Shift A, curve, and then go to spirals and Archimedes spiral there. Now it's massive to begin with. So we're going to bring that down a huge amount. Go to the top. Oh, I made that too small. Yes, I have. 0.02, 0.04, 0.03, 0.035. There we go. So what we can then do is increase the height of it. 0.01. And then location, we're just going to bring that down a little bit, like that. You probably want to bring that, let's undo. We'll sort that out in a second. Let's sort that height out as 0.005. And then if we add in 2 steps like that. Okay, so we've got that. I'm then going to GZ, just bring that up a bit more, like that. Okay, so much like when we did the chair leg and then when we did the stem of our lamp, it's a curve. So now we can make that an actual object. So I'm going to grab it, properties panel, data, geometry, and that is massive. So we're going to do something like, how's one look? A bit too big. 0.6, like that. Now by default, it sort of rounds it off. So if you go to profile, like that, it makes it a little bit more of a square. You can play around with the profile, but actually the default sort of gives it that sharp edge that sort of looks like a thread. And that's how I essentially model threads a lot of the time. Do we want to make that a bit bigger? 0.8, something like that. Now it's over the edge there a little bit, so let's S and scale that down in the Z, SZ. So there we have our jar. I'm going to Shift A, mesh, not mesh, sorry, empty, and grab another cube. Hopefully we're used to this by now, so this is just how we can grab it all to make sure nothing accidentally gets separated. I'm just using S and Z, S and X just to make sure that it's not way bigger than the object itself. Select everything, deselect the empty and reselect it, Control P to parent like that so I can grab it. Come to the top, let's move this over. Like that, come to the front, GZ. Like that. Okay, because I feel like what we would have is Shift D, go to the top. We probably have loads of spare marker pens in here, and I'm going to model a couple of craft knives as well. I feel like this is where we're going to have all our stuff. Bring that down. Sort of rest it like that. Shift D. Like that sort of thing. Maybe have one more. Shift D. Like that. Okay, so once we've done that, the next thing we're going to have to go do, I'm going to give this a quick save. So we'll do it all in one video because actually it's going to be quite short. So we'll do a little cutting mat and then we're going to do a craft knife as well. So let me just, again, save that. Okay, so let's do a cutting mat. We do have a reference image. We'll bring it in, but it's a relatively, well, it is a very simple thing to do, but let's still bring it in. And then what we're going to do, Shift A, mesh cube, and it should be, if I get the dimensions here, 45 centimeters by 30 centimeters. So 5. Like that. So that's the dimensions we want. And obviously all we're going to do is round off the corners a little bit so it looks a bit more realistic. Okay. Let's Shift A, mesh, grab another cube, bring that down. G, Y to bring into position. G, Y to bring into position. G, X. G, X. Come to the front because it's going to be super, super tall, which we don't want. G, Z. Just something like that. Okay, so we can actually get rid of that reference image now. Now we've played around with the scale, so we need to Control A to apply. And then let's just round off these corners. Come to the top. Control B to bevel. Let's stick with 10. And then, as we're getting used to now, we've now created a load of n-gons, so we've got to make sure that we turn this all into cubes. Nice, simple shape. Do the same on the bottom. Just holding our shift and selecting the vertices you want to join, and hitting J for join, just to make sure that everything still becomes quads. Make sure you select the right one, like that. Now, we are going to round off these corners. Control B. Something like that. Now, if we were to add a subdivision on here, you see it kind of messes up the corners a little bit. So realistically, what we want to do is add in a couple of extra edge loops just to make those corners just a little bit sharper. So what we're going to do to make sure we do it accurately is do one in the middle and then Control B to bevel, change the segments to 1 and just drag that over like that. I'm going to do the same here, Control B to bevel. Like that, and it just keeps the shape a little bit better. Shape flat, come to the top, bring that into position, come to the front, G, Z. So our workspace is starting to come together quite nicely. What we're going to do as well, I feel like we want to have like a tissue, like crumple like tissue, because obviously we've been spray painting our thing that we're doing here. We want to make sure that we've got something on here, and then what we'll do is a little craft knife. We've still got a light bulb to model, but we're very nearly finished. So let's come to the top, let's Shift A, mesh, add a plane, make this quite a bit smaller, S, X, something like that. Now we need to subdivide this, so I'm going to have face selected here, right click and go to subdivide, which is different to doing a subdivision modifier, so just be aware of that. Something like that. And then what we're going to do is add a modifier, and then we're going to go to deform, displace. Okay, now to do that, we then need to click on new and come down here to the texture tab. And then what we're going to do is select cloud like this, and then we can play around with the size of it. Come back to the modifier tab and we can change the strength of it. make it not so extreme, like that. You can shade smooth, and it just gives the illusion of like, if I do a subdivision, like a crumpled piece of tissue. We can play around with that a bit more, make it a little bit more extreme. Come to the top, to the front, G, bring it down. And this is why using the empty is really useful, because we can just grab stuff, make it a bit better, like that. I'm going to give this a save, and then we're going to have a go at doing our little craft knife. Okay, so now we're going to model our craft knife. So we're going to come to the front, Shift A, image and reference image. And then we're going to grab our reference image from our file that we've got, which is here. I'm going to R to rotate this round just so it's standing the right way up. Scale it down a little bit. Turn the opacity down from the properties panel. And then Shift A, mesh and cube, just because we know that the height of this needs to be 100 millimeters. So what I can then do is just grab the reference image, scale it down to meet the size of the cube, like that. Okay, so press N to get rid of that panel, GY to move back. So we're going to add in mesh and cylinder. I'm going to put it to 16, so by default it's at 32, we can do 16 vertices. I'm going to scale this in, bring this into position. Like that. 1 to go into vertex mode, and G and Z to bring down. Same at the top, G and Z to bring up. Now we have played with the scale, so obviously we now need to Control A to apply all transforms. Press 2 to go to edge mode, Alt and click to select all that, Control B to bevel, and increase the width and the segment so it rounds that off quite nicely. Delete that face, and then we're going to grid fill. And then up here, come to the front, or the top rather. I'm going to add an edge loop, Control R to bring it up to about there. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to delete this top face here and grid fill it to Q and grid fill. But I'm going to change the span so that we get these straight edges, so I can grab this one directly in the middle. From there, I'm going to go Alt E. I normally go extrude face long, I'm going to go extrude manifold just so we can drag this down just like that. Okay, so that has now grabbed everything together. I'm going to add one more edge loop and bring that up a little bit like that. I'm going to SZ just to scale that flat like that. I'm going to grab this as well and make this flat. So I'm going to grab this, and if we press S to scale, because we're going Z up and down and 0, it makes that completely flat. So now what we're going to do is grab all of these edges, like that. Control B to bevel. Bit of trial and error of getting the right sort of size that we want. Something like that. And then let's add one more edge loop around like that, and we will join along there. Do the same around here as well. And because we've created and then gone here, now actually we've done too many segments, so I'm going to Control Z to undo, Control B, and it's 2 segments we meant to do then. I apologize. That's more like it. I'm going to do Control R, so same as we were just done, but I didn't realize that I'd added too many segments. Come round, and then we can just join those together, so that now becomes a 4-sided shape, like that. Okay, and then what we can do is let's just give that a subdivision surface, shade smooth. You see we've now got the body of our craft knife. Now if you look there, now we're going to do it all as one piece, but when we add materials, so there's some knurling and then like normal metal for those bits, but we're going to leave that for now. Shade flat. I'm going to grab these vertices, come to the top, and just bring that out a little bit. Just because it was messing with the shape of the cylinder slightly. That looks more like it. Let's come to the side. Just little tweaks just to make that look a bit better. So we've got that. So let's have a go at doing our knife. So we're going to go to Shift A, Mesh, and let's go to a cube. S to scale that. Just want to make sure that fits in. There we go. Then what we'll do, G and X to bring it across. G and X. G and Z. And then we're going to grab that. E to extrude to bring up. Let's grab this one and bring that in to make it the shape of a blade. And then what we can do is select all those edges except for those two. Control B to bevel. Increase that segment a little bit. In fact, let's grab those because then we're going to end up with nice clean geometry. For that, I'm going to make that more knife-like, so S and Y to make it a little bit more pointy. Otherwise it's not going to be a very effective knife. Grab that, Control B. Increase that bevel, something like that. And then we've got our blade, generate subdivision surface, like that. Come to the top, rotate that round. Bring it down. S, X, and there we have our craft knife. So let's come to the front, let's delete that and Shift A, grab an empty, grab our cube, S, X, come to the top, S, Y, and again, select everything, deselect the empty, then reselect it, Control P, keep transforms, so now we've got our knife, bring this over here. I'm actually going to duplicate it as well. I'm going to take this RX 90, come to the top, rotate, well, let's rotate it around a bit as well. Let's do RY 90. Rotate it around a little bit. go to the front, G, and bring it down. Like that. And I'm going to grab, I accidentally just duplicated the actual empty rather than the actual thing as well. So I'm going to do Shift D to bring that up. R, X90. Let's put one of those in our jar as well. Make it a bit taller. Yeah, something like that. So we've now got our craft knife like that. So we'll stop there, and then next video we pretty much just got to do light bulb, a little shelf, and put another cardboard box with more paints in there before we're nearly done with modeling everything.